So 2.2.1, linear inequalities. We've already dealt with inequalities. Remember we had the positive, negative switch. You guys remember this? Positive, negative switch? Okay. So we don't actually even have to do much more than that. That was actually when we had absolute values, but it involved inequalities. We have seen these before. We've dealt with them. We have to change the direction of the inequality when we divide or multiply by what? Change it from a negative number. If you have an inequality and you have to divide by a -2, you got to change the direction of the inequality. Okay, this way, change it. Change it. Okay. So this is just review. This is just review. I think we know how to do this. We're just graphing lines. We start with the step 1 of looking at the y-intercept, and then we use the slope to find the next point. Really straightforward. Here are the 2 steps. Plot your y-intercept, and then use your slope to find the next point. Okay. So let's go ahead and graph this one right here. Make a little quick graph. And everybody all at once, tell me, where do we start? What are we going to plot first? 1 on the y-axis. 1. Right? Okay. And then +2 and +3. What does +2 say? Up to the right 3, because they're both positive. Positive rise is up. Positive run is to the right toward the positive numbers. So let's see if we get to where we need to. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. There's that, and we have our line. Done. You can make more of those points. You can do more steps, right? Do more steps to get to another point, but 2 points, hey, we can make a line out of that. No problem. Thumbs up, sideways, down for just graphing a line. We're good? All right, well, that's like 60% of our process. The only other thing we have to do is ask 2 questions. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if we can now graph inequalities. Here's our steps. Put it into solve for y. So put it into this form, right? So look at our examples over here. You see how this isn't quite in the form where it's y is isolated. We'd have to move everything over or move things around to get into this form. That's not going to be too tricky for those problems. Next, we're going to graph the line. And as you're graphing, you want to also be thinking here. Do I make it a dotted line or a solid line? If it's just greater than or less than, it's dotted. It doesn't have the equal possibility. Just like when we had this point, we were graphing on a number line. These points are including a closed dot because it could be equal there, right? If we have open, that means that it has no equal function to it. Equal, we have more ink, you could say, so we have a closed dot. Less ink, open dot. And then over here, the same thing applies. Greater than or less than, dotted line, because it cannot be on that line. Our solutions can't be on the line. Solid if it could be equal to it. That's one question we have to ask. Okay. So let's look at our last question. So this is like a question you'll ask. Is it dotted or is it solid? And then you go up here to number 4. You ask another question. If it ends up that we have y is greater than within our equation, we go and shade above where the y values are greater, right? Where are my y values greater here? Down? No. Y value that says greater, so I'm looking at shading above the line. If it says y values are less, where do I shade? Below. Intuitive? Is this intuitive? If it can't be equal to, we're going to make a dash because that shows it's almost like the open dot. We make it solid if it could be equal to that line. Okay. All right, Vanessa, go ahead and move next to Grace over here. Thank you. All right, let's get this going with our steps. First, we need to solve for y. We need to solve for y. Is this solved for y? It's close though, right? Okay, I want you on your own to go and solve for y and then check with your neighbor. Solve for y, check. Solve for y and check. Yeah, good checking. I see good checking. If you already have it done, just check on your neighbors. Look out for them as well. See if they know. Good. All right, Caden, help me out. How did you solve for y?
I isolated the y.
You isolated the y by doing what?
By subtracting 2x from that side.
You guys agree?
Yes.
Good, that's what we got to get rid of. I think it's perfect. And we're going to reposition them like this because now it is in my mx plus b form. Always put your variables first, constants last, like that. Yeah. All right. And then I'm gonna let you pass it. Ooh, I got ideas. I got ideas.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass it to.
You gotta pass this.
Oh.
Pass it to who?
Dang it.
Oh, dang it. Thank you.
Whoa, yeah.
Help me plot this. What do we plot first?
So we plot the 3 up first.
Yeah.
I
think that's perfect. And then what's next?
And then you go down 2.
Down 2.
And over.
Good, because that's 1, right? So it's down 2, negative 2, over 1. So 1, 2. All right, there's my line. And then I need to go back and reassess. Maybe you have your eraser ready for this. So pass it to someone else. Go and pass that ball. Pass the rock. It's not a rock, don't worry. You gotta be looking. You gotta tell them, say their name. Okay, that's close. All right, what do you think? Next question. First question. Dotted or dashed? Let's look at our symbols. Dotted. Perfect. So that's what I do when I'm dotted. Do that. Use your eraser if you want. Or ask that question before you make your line. Perfect. It's just in the steps it made more, just to explain it that way. All right, pass it. Pass the ball. Oh. No, not me. Last question. Does it say, first, is this y is greater than or y is less than? Greater than. So are we going to graph above or below the line? Above the line. I'm just going to shade in above the line. This is just shading. These lines don't mean anything. If it was perfect, that would all be shaded like a filter. All right. Thumbs up, sideways down. What do you think? What do you think? Good. Good, 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 good. All right, I'm going to let you all do this all on your own. All on your own, the first one. Check with your neighbor, and then I'll take the ball back up here. And then I'm going to pick one person start to finish it all up. So I'm going to cold call. I'm going to do a random number generator. That's right. So I'm not picking on anybody. You know that's my pastime, right? Just kidding. All right, random number generator. I'm going to use your... You guys remember your Plickr numbers? I'll pull up a roster and I'll assign you a number. How about that? I guess I could pause this.